Hey everyone, welcome to this episode. We are going to be covering Dune. Eventually I'm going to have some music that goes through all this, but right now, don't really have anything. Dune Battle of Arrakis takes its setting and its faction names from Frank Herbert's Dune series. It's an amazing series of books. I really do recommend you guys check those out, but right now we're just talking about the game. This was originally a PC game that was developed by Westwood back when they still existed, and they were kind of, at least in my opinion, they were like the kings of strategy games. I don't know if this was the first real-time strategy game they made, but it kind of set a lot of the groundwork for what you would see with Command & Conquer, and also for not World of Warcraft, but the Warcraft franchise, like Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2. This one, you can see a lot of the elements from Command & Conquer in it, but it's a very primitive, well, not really primitive, but it's a very basic form of a real-time strategy game. You'll see a lot of my complaints in it during the review and everything, but overall, this is a very faithful port of the PC version. So what I think this game is supposed to be is kind of like a prequel to the books, because you get to the planet and the fiefdom hasn't really been assigned yet. That's kind of what these planets are. Each one is like its own, basically a place of land in the universe. And they all get assigned to like different houses. And I think there are literally thousands of houses in the Dune universe. And this one, Arrakis, is like the most important because it is the only place that the fuel for spaceships is found. It's basically spice. It's what the worms crap out. I don't know why, that's just the way it works. There is also a Sega Cd version of this, which was also a PC game going on being developed at the same time as Dune Battle for Arrakis. So what Westwood did is they released it as Dune 2 and kind of left the other version as Dune 1. I don't know exactly who made the first PC one, which I'll just call the Sega CD version, but that one's done fairly well. That one is much more of this is a very basic real-time strategy game, but it's got a lot of other elements in it which make it a little bit more unique. I might review that at some other time, because I do own it, but right now we'll just focus on this game. So we have a very nice opening scene here. You see the planet Arrakis, and you get to see more closely the three houses showing up on the planet.
Dude.
So this is one thing that's really cool, is they were able to keep the three houses in the game. You have Atreides, which here, they're generally shown in blue. And then you've got the Harkonnen shown in red, and you're eventually going to get the Ordos shown in green. These are the Mentats. They are really, really well done for just the overall graphics of the game. Now this is part of the intro if you just basically let the thing play through, and it goes through and it tells you all different units in the game. It does a really, really good job of showing you everything. There are a few issues. You can see the graphics aren't quite on par with what the PC was at the time, but they're pretty darn good especially for the Genesis. You'll also notice, like down in the bottom left, the sort of orangish stuff, that's the spice that you need to collect. And then you've got the rock, and also some of the mesas, and then you've got the sand and the dunes, essentially. Now, most of the houses basically have the same units. The Harkonnen don't use a lot of the lighter stuff, so you're not going to see like a trike, you're not going to see like the basic infantry. They just sort of ignore that. They just jump right to the troopers and like the quad cars and that sort of thing. Now we went past the rocket tank there, but its missiles are really weird, and you'll see that later on, but for the most part, all the units here are going to essentially be for every house. There are a couple of specialty units, which unfortunately at least as far as I've gotten in the game, it doesn't look like the Ordos had their special unit make it into the game. You'll see the Sonic Tank and the Devastator Tank. The Sonic Tank is for the Atreides, and then the Devastator Tank is for the Harkonnen. The Ordos had a tank called the Devastator, which unfortunately didn't make it in. It was really weird. I didn't personally like it. It's basically a rocket tank, and it shoots out a gas and allows you to steal the other your opponent's units. So now we get to see a bunch of the different buildings and everything here. So that concrete slab underneath it, you need to build that to have like a solid foundation, otherwise all of your buildings are going to come in beat up in some way. Now the graphics here are fairly good, but there is a problem. The PC had the buildings a little bit more tilted, so you could see more like a three-dimensional feel to them. That being said, they still got a lot out of it. It looks fairly good here. Most of the buildings are represented, but just like with the units, they kind of had to leave some stuff out. You used to have like a fortress, and that's where you would build like your troopers. Here they just lump them in with the barracks. There used to be a heavy vehicle factory and a light vehicle factory, and they just sort of combined those into one. It's not that big of a deal, but it is just a little bit different. One bad thing with this is you can't rotate the buildings, so the way you see them here, that's the way they have to show up. It's really kind of annoying, but this is one of the first real-time strategy games, so you can kind of forgive it in some ways. It's just something you sort of have to get used to. You can, it's just kind of annoying after time. Now there's one building on here that is really, really cool, and it's the palace. You're gonna see that coming up in just a little bit, but the palace lets you do certain things that are kind of unique to your house, depending on which one you choose. And it's kind of a cool little thing. I didn't make it far enough to really make sure it showed up at the game. I think they just rolled it back to where it was the Death's Head, or the Death's Hand rocket that was fired, that you can fire off. It's kind of like a nuclear missile, sort of, a little bit. But I'm not 100% sure. So this is the best part of this little demo here, is it actually has like the controller with your, basically what would be your hands on it, so you can actually see how you would like press the buttons, which ones you need to do. And because this has a really screwed up control scheme, I'm just gonna tell you right now, it took me a while to get used to. It'll probably take other people a while to get used to it as well. But this little demo is so awesome. Like, you don't see this with a lot of other games, and especially when they brought this game over, because I don't know if this is one of the first real-time strategy games that was ported over to the a cartridge, but it really, really looks awesome to me. I know I'm totally like weirding out on this, but it just looks so cool, and I wish more games would have done this, but for others it's not really needed for other games. This one it is kind of neat. So now we get to the goddamn sandworms. This is where I just, oh my god, I was going like so off the rails with these. They are so much more aggressive than anything else in the game. I just absolutely hate them so much. Now here is one part of the game that I really, really did not like. And I know why it's in here, because they're trying to foreshadow the plot, but it's just really annoying. So these purple units are the Sardaukar. They are the Imperial, like, super elite soldiers and whatnot. And they just show up, and they're really super annoying to get rid of. It's a plot point for later in the game when all of a sudden the Emperor decides that, hey, I want to get involved in this too, but yeah, whatever. So here we see another sort of the problem with this. Now this is going to show us both that the missiles are incredibly annoying, just like that, and also that you have to, in order to attack, you have to click on a unit, move move it to a specific area and have it attack something. You don't get to select multiple units at a time. And you might be thinking this is a problem with just this port, but no, it was a problem with both the PC port and with this one. So there are 2 other Dune games that are both on PC, that at least that I know of. One is a remake of this game. It's called Dune 2000, and then there's also God Emperor of Dune. Those are both real-time strategy games as well, and if you ever get a chance, definitely check those out. If you don't really want to look at those, or you're not really into PC games, especially ones from like the early 90s like this, then this is a really good piece, both for a collection and also just for kind of messing around with. It's not an easy game at all. It's very hard, especially the limitations from just the control setup and everything like that. I really wish that they would do more with this franchise in terms of video games, because you could really do like the same thing that they're doing, or at least that they did do with Star Wars, where you could have a bunch of different stories coming off of this. I mean, Frank Herbert wrote 5 books, his son and someone else wrote, I think, 4 or 5 more, so there's a lot of material to pull from when you want to come up with a video game for this. And it's just something that you could really sort of go off on a tangent with. You could explore some of the houses that haven't been brought up in the games, or are really like lesser known in the books as well. Anyway guys, that's it for me. I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you all later.